I have a good challenge for you. In the early stages of recruitment, sit an online aptitude test.
Megan Butler, you're back. Remind everyone the challenge that you set for me to become an international airline pilot.
The challenge I set was an aptitude test, which is often one of the initial stages used by the airlines in their interview process. It's like an online testing tool that tests your multitasking ability, also task prioritization under pressure.
I'm going to share how I went in this test. But first, I want to remind everyone that Steve Melder exists. He's a buyer or seller's advocate in the automotive space. If you want to buy a car, he'll do all the running around for you. If you want to sell it, he'll also do the running around for you. He'll meet with people, sell it on your behalf. It just takes a little bit of a fee to do all of that work, which, when you think about it, is so much better than actually dealing with the bullshit that goes with buying or selling a car. If you want to see if he's the right fit for you, listen to his episode, Automotive Buyers or Sellers Advocate with Steve Melder. Also, check out his name on the Work Experience Kit website, workexperiencekit.com. Then hit the Guests tab, and then you can connect through to Steve that way. Now, you sent me what this test looks like when it comes to the questions that I might receive in the interview process. So, should I tell you how I went?
Please do. I'm dying to know.
Oh, I'm sure you are. So, basically every question that I didn't do all of them because I kind of ran out of time. So that's not a good start to, being a pilot because, I'm happy to do a half-assed job. But every question I answered, I got correct.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
That's a really good start.
I've done the absolute bare minimum and even the bare minimum of that to start a journey to become a pilot. I should probably recap what we were looking at in this aptitude test. So there's a couple of questions where it's like, here's a star with different lines through it, and there's a color lit up in each spot. There are maybe 3 in a row, and it's asking you, okay, what is the next in the sequence here? There's maybe like 3 elements of that lit up. I noticed that they were rotating. So you just go, okay, well, that one is the next one in sequence there.
Sure. So it was like the pattern style.
That's right. Yeah. And then there was another one where it had a whole jumble of numbers. Here is one number. Which one in this set of 5 is the same number? And how quickly can you do it? So I guess in the real world test, it would go, you did that in half a second, 10 seconds or whatever. And these numbers look all very similar. It might be, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One might be 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. And they all look very similar, but they are obviously all different. So there was that one there. And another question that I remembered was that there are maybe 6 people. Doug comes to work after Shannon, but before Lucy. And then Lucy comes in after Sharon. And I also think, what are the order of the people as they come to work? Who comes in the work first? Who comes to work last? And you sort of have to do a bit of maths. And then another one, I won't bore everyone with what these questions are. There are 5 people who work together. The boss wants to have a fun day. Which day are all of them available? And you've got someone who's only works, Mondays and Wednesdays. Another one who is off on leave for 3 weeks and then can work. And then so you sort of work it out and it's like, okay, this particular time of the month is this particular day. It's just logic, really, in that sense. Anyway, so I'm quite happy that I did it all correctly and it set me on a nice little path to, if I ever want to apply to become a pilot, aside from actual skill, I've got this test down.
I'm thoroughly impressed. Yeah, it's a tricky test. And the problem with a lot of them is they are designed to get more difficult if it can sense that you are doing quite well at them. So if you're smashing through the questions and doing it really fast and getting them correct in a very quick fashion, it'll go, oh, okay, too easy. And then it ups the ante and keeps just making it harder and harder. So it's actually designed to get to a point where you cannot answer them in the time allocation, which is obviously quite frustrating, but that's sort of what it is generally designed to do. But no, I'm very impressed that you managed to get the majority of them right with very little practice.
I'm pretty happy with that as well. And obviously now you say that they get harder in the real world, in the real test, I would obviously struggle a little bit more. But hey, that's a good start. I guess the next question is, if I wanted to continue on this path let's say, go to flying school and go, all right, I'm on the way into aviation. I want to, in your case, become an international airline pilot. What might one do as a new pilot to be successful in the career?
I guess, like we spoke about last time, there are a few different avenues to consider with how you go about completing the training, whether that's through an airline cadet program or whether it's privately just through a flying school or whether it's part of a university degree or through the military even. If you sort of do end up coming out the other end of a training program and then it's right, okay, well, I've got the qualification, got my commercial license, and now I'm looking for work. I think as a new pilot, the most important thing is to invest in a professional CV. It's very, very important because at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that will be applying for a small amount of jobs. It does get quite competitive and it can be difficult to land a decent job to try and build up that experience. So yeah, obviously, once you're looking at the airlines, there's minimum hour requirements on each airline for when they open up recruitment. They say, okay, well, we're only going to consider pilots applications that have X amount of hours. So it can be difficult to get that experience. So you've got to be prepared to apply for a lot of jobs, be prepared for some disappointment because there'll be a lot of people applying for that same job. And often those first jobs aren't quite as glamorous as people might initially think, I guess. The pay might be bad. You might be working remotely. You might have to move away from home and the aircraft might not be amazing aircraft to fly, but a lot of people are willing to put up with those conditions, I suppose, just to gain the hours that they require to then move on to applying for the airlines. I'm just going to say have a thick skin and just be motivated to try and get that experience wherever you can.
Because a catch-22, isn't it, of you need the experience to get the experience, you need to get in to get those hours, but where do you get those hours? And you say you just might have to do a little bit of a shitty role for however long to get those hours up. And as you said in the last episode, put some bags under the plane and, get your hands dirtier than what you'd like.
That's right, yeah. I mean, like I said, there are some avenues where, for instance, some of the airline cadets programs would obviously lead straight into an airline role, which is great. So they're a really good option to look into. But I mean, they're only got so many places to take each year too, so that's quite competitive. And often getting some real world experience out flying general aviation is not a bad thing either. It can really hone those skills and build some resilience. So it's there's certainly some positives to going down that road as well.
It's a long road, as you've just said, and you said previously. Right now on a job advertising platform, which I won't mention unless they sponsor the pod, when you search up pilot, there were 185 jobs. And now I wonder if some of them is like a social media pilot or the men's hair loss place pilot, which I probably shouldn't mention because they should sponsor the pod as well. But whatever. There are 185 jobs. Do you think somebody who is not yet in the industry, but let's say has, I guess, those hours and can nail the aptitude test, do you think they'll be able to get one of those jobs? How does one get one of those jobs? Is it that resume and everything we've spoken about all coming together?
Yeah, look, to be honest, it's a really great time to be interested in becoming a pilot. It definitely seems to go in waves where there'll be pilot shortages and then there will be an abundance of pilots again. So coming out of post-COVID, it went from 0 to 1,000 really quickly. And I feel like the industry is still really trying to catch up to the huge spike in demand once travel reopened. So yeah, it's certainly a great time to be interested in such a role. There's definitely a lot of the airlines are heavily recruiting and expanding. So that means that people from those general aviation roles are moving up into the airlines. And so that just creating space on all levels, really, in terms of aviation jobs. So it's certainly the right time to be interested.
Is there anyone that you follow that might be good to track?
I mean, there's lots of different individuals that are on socials and quite inspirational. I guess for me, I probably follow a fair few women that have been quite motivating and inspirational to me also. There's a woman called Pilot Maria. She's an airline pilot And she shares some pretty amazing content on Instagram. She's also a mum, which is cool. She's doing the balancing act with that as well, which is great to see. So yeah, she's a good one to follow if you want to see some cool content on aeroplanes. She's got her captaincy as well, which is a pretty massive achievement. So yeah, I'd recommend having a look at her stuff.
I'll write that one down and see if she can inspire me even more to get into the industry. Is there anything else you want to mention about pilot life?
I guess the only other little tidbit I'd have is that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's an amazing job. I absolutely love it. But for anyone considering it, at the end of the day, it's still shift work.
Yeah.
There's still going to be times, like we were just speaking about before, where you might have to leave home. You know, you might have to move towns and live somewhere that you wouldn't ideally pick along the journey. Doesn't mean it'll be a bad thing in the end. It'll probably, like all the chapters do end up being pretty incredible, but at the end of the day, it is shift work, and that comes with its own challenges. It means not always getting the days off you want. Sometimes you're working Christmas, sometimes you're working someone's birthday, sometimes it's hard to commit to playing sport the same time every week, that sort of thing. So that is something to consider. But I mean, again, if aviation's your passion, it's just part of the parcel, and, you know, it doesn't tend to bother you and you just manage it. But it is certainly something that can come with challenges.
And if you're passionate about it, you always make it work. And fortunately for you, Megan, you've got a great support network as well. And if you're working in this industry, I'm sure you'll select that network as well. Good friends, good partners, and that sort of thing.
And you tend to find that you make circles within that industry. You end up with a lot of close friends in the same boat, if you will, that are all in aviation and doing the shift work thing as well. So they understand.
And on the shift work thing, it's a good reminder that everyone bitches about having to get up at 4 a.m. to catch their flight. The airline crew are up at the same time too. So
that's true. Maybe even earlier.
Ugh. I think it's time for me to get into the verdict. Whilst it seems that I have the brains to pass the aptitude test, maybe my confidence is a little bit higher than what it should be. I reckon I would also be pretty good at talking over the PA. I've got a little thingo here that will help. Good afternoon, passengers. We're beginning our descent into Hawaii, where the weather is hot and the vibes are relaxed. Anyway, that's just a little go of that. Did I teach you how to do that over the PA?
Yeah, actually, I remember the first time I was given the PA, and then I said, do you have like a script or something for me to follow? I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't think that's going to boost anyone's confidence down the back there. But yeah, it is certainly a skill that you also learn along the way, and you tend to have your own little spiel that you stick to. And then worst case, if you feel like you're totally losing it, you just let go of the button and then pretend like you had a technical error and restart.
But they don't want to have too much of a technical error. I mean, you're talking about the PA. Oh, oops, sorry about that. Yes. But imagine just like, that wasn't meant to happen. And then people are like, what? That.
No, I mean, just pretend like that you lost the PA. But yeah, no, that's you've got a good PA voice. I feel confident.
I'm happy to, if you ever need somebody on your flight to just talk over the PA, and that is it. Sit in the jump seat behind you and just talk over the PA. Very happy to do that. But I guess my ability comes from, working in the media industry for as long as I did. So I can do the PA bit. I can at least maybe fudge myself through the recruitment process without actually, I'd definitely fail on general knowledge. Would I choose this job? It sounds like it could be a fun one. Maybe if I had started from the beginning. I feel like I'm just too old. Not saying I don't have time left in my life. I'm only mid-30s, so I've got plenty of time. But more about, I have to get up early. Do I want to have to deal with all this stuff? I feel like that's a young man's game, maybe.
Yeah, look, to be honest, it's probably not that part. It's probably just the time it takes from, that initial training. And like we've spoken about, the journey can be long to get to the airlines. It could possibly mean that you wouldn't get a look in with an airline for another 10 years. And then by then you start looking more towards the other end of finishing your career. So yeah, I mean, the younger the better, for sure.
And yeah, with some fast and loose maths, I'll get a half-decent job when I'm 50. I don't want to be doing that. As you say, I want to be retired by then. And also, it's good to start early because you don't know how good life can be, and you're like, oh, this is how it is, you get taken advantage of and you just go along with it. I just can't see myself wanting to get taken advantage of at this age because I'd be knowing all about it. There's too much life experience. So unfortunately, I might have to slide this one still in the maybe pile because it seems like an interesting career, but just that logic aside, and unfortunately, apparently I'm more logical than I thought because I went pretty well at this aptitude test. I don't think I can become a pilot.
Fair enough.
The journey continues. I'm going to keep asking people more about what they do and hopefully helping more people discover a new passion for a new career and maybe a new life. Megan, thank you so much for joining me on the pod. Thanks for coming back.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, onward and upward, but where do we go next? Make sure you subscribe so you hear the next episode and leave us a 5-star review too. Contribute and hire our guests at Work